Welcome to The Bound Butterfly, where broken stories become beautiful testimonies. Well, my name is Tiffany Buckley, and I am married to my wonderful husband for almost 4 years now. I spent over 15 years of my life battling addiction, and by God's grace, I am almost 7 years sober, and there's not one thing in my life that God has not transformed. I am now a substance abuse counselor. I am an anger management teacher, and I'm also the administrative assistant at Wells of Agape. It's such a joy in my life to be a part of that organization. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have told you that that was impossible. But I'm here to tell you that with God, all things are possible. And don't be telling God you ain't never ever, because he'll have you never ever and like you never ever before. In the best way. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So in November of 2024, I felt an urgency from God to make this controversial Facebook post. Pretty sure the election was fixing to happen, so all the things, the Roe versus Wade and all the things were going on. And when I woke up that morning, I felt this urgency from God. He had it on my mind about speaking about my story for a while, but I was still kind of walking through how I felt about it. But that morning I woke up and I felt an urgency from him. I know that he wanted me to put a face and a personality to what some people say is a justifiable excuse to abort their baby. I wanted people to know that my circumstances of my conception do not determine my worth as a human being. God is using me in mighty ways, and I'm forever grateful that my mother did not give me a death sentence for someone else's crime. I didn't do anything wrong. So that part right there, I knew he wanted me to share that. He had been telling me that for a long time. That post was liked over 10,000 times. I think it was shared 28,000 times. It gained me over 5,000 followers, which to me is viral. Like, I felt like a little mini celebrity. And I didn't think my story really mattered. But those numbers, I believe, was God showing me that it mattered. And I know the urgency that I felt for making that post, I feel for this podcast. I feel like this is what he wants me to do. He wants me to tell this story because I know I'm not the only one. Through that Facebook post, I know I'm not the only one. And so I know that that was a God thing, that he, through fear and trembling, I made that post. I really did not want to do it because, it's my mom's story. There's all kinds of factors in here. I never want to hurt anybody, but I have to tell my truth. I have to tell the truth. I found out the truth about my conception through DNA testing and gently, I'll use air quotes here, gently confronting my mom. I honestly believe that she would have taken that secret to her grave. Had I not put her on the spot, had I not pressured her with the 23andMe and, confronting her, I don't think that I ever would have known the truth. I'm sure that she had no idea that, you'd be able to spit in a cup one day and they'd be able to tell you your genetic makeup. It probably was never a thought in her head. But they give you this wheel when you do the DNA testing. And it's like every country has a different color. And mine was like this beautiful rainbow. And there's only like 2 or 3 countries that aren't represented in my blood. I think Asia was the only country that wasn't lit up. And to see my DNA laid out like that was such a beautiful thing to me. And I think it was the first time in my whole life that I saw the diversity in me and appreciated it. Like, for so many years I had been running from it and denying it and doing all the other things. And that moment in time, I saw that and it was beautiful to me rather than something that, I don't want to say ashamed, but something that made me want to hide. And that was a really beautiful moment. I don't think that I've thought about that a lot since then, but I know I sent some pictures to somebody of it the other day, and just looking at all the regions that are lit up. My husband did the 23andMe test, and his is just blue. But mine's blue and purple and yellow and all these beautiful colors. And it was really something for me. It was really, I felt something to have that mindset switch from a hidden secret, thing to this is who I am. And it really was a moment I'll never forget. But that's how the truth came out. That's how I finally got to the bottom of it, if you want to say, was the DNA testing and gently confronting my mom. So through my Facebook post that I made that went viral, I actually had somebody reach out to me that I've known in my past, and she lives down in Corpus Christi now, and she said, your viral Facebook post made it down here, and I didn't even recognize you. I didn't even know that was you. So that was really beautiful. But through that post, I was able to talk to people who reached out to me about their own situations. When I made that post, I knew God said it was life or death for somebody. Like, I knew that in my gut, but I didn't really contemplate what that would look like as far as, who it would help or how I would, be interactive with that. But people started to text me or message me through Facebook. I really had so many that I couldn't get to all of them. But one lady in particular said that her niece was like me and that they were never going to tell her. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I know what the lies and deception did in me, into my life. And my whole life I felt like I was bleeding, but I didn't know where the wound was coming from. It was like I knew something was not wrong, but I knew there was something that I couldn't put my finger on. No one's ever found healing. No one ever on this earth has found healing through secrets and lies. That's just not how it works. And I know that lies were detrimental to my life. And that's not to say that my family wasn't trying to protect me. They loved me so much, and they wanted to make sure that I wasn't hurt. But I think even when we think we're doing the right thing, we get in God's way. We're not the protectors. We're not the ones that provide the healing. That's God. And when we try to think of our own way and do it how we think is best, 99% of the time, this is not what God had in mind. His ways are higher. But that's why I feel like this podcast is important, because I know that lady's not the only one. I know there's so many people out there who are like me, who may not know, and they don't understand like I didn't understand, that the truth will set them free. I don't want to say that over and over again, but that's so pertinent to my life. The truth has truly set me free. And I know that that's God. I know that that's Him providing what I need when I need it. It's important to share my story because every person deserves to have the freedom that I've found. Every person deserves this feeling like I wish I could just take it out and put it into other people, because I didn't know it existed. I tell people all the time when they see me and they say, "Oh, you look so great. You look so happy." I'm like, I didn't even know this kind of happiness was possible. Back in my addiction, before the truth came out, I didn't even know this was an attainable thing to have. And I believe that every person deserves it. Every person deserves this freedom. And I know that it's only found in Jesus' name. It came through truth. It came through Jesus and His truth in my life. I'm forever grateful for that. So I remember as a kid, I would ask for a daddy for Christmas. I don't know exactly how old I was or when I started that. I've asked my mom since if that bothered her. And she says no, but who knows? But it was always me and my mom. Like, I had my aunts and I had my uncles and my grandparents and all the things, but as a family unit, it was just me and my mom. And everyone else I knew had a dad. It probably also stemmed from people asking me, what are you, or who's your daddy, as some kind of backwards way to ask what my race was. And I thought that having a dad would answer all those questions. I'm fortunate that God did send me a great father who stepped up in so many ways, but it didn't put any of those questions to rest. It really just brought up more questions. But I remember that I longed for that. I longed for a daddy. And I think that it also stemmed from the dads I saw, like my uncle and my grandpa. They were so gentle men, and they were present, and they cared. And I wanted that. As a kid, I think we focus on what we don't have more than what we do. And I'm so grateful for the men that God has put in my life. They've been wonderful father figures to me. But it was something that I longed for. A daddy for Christmas. Have you ever heard of such a thing? I have often wondered what y'all would say when I would ask for a daddy. Like, what was the thought?
Well, my thought, because I knew the truth, was, oh my, I know the truth, but I'm sworn to secrecy. And it really breaks my heart. I know God's healed you, but to think how many children are out there that are wanting the very thing that you wanted, and not ever get the answers. And you've got a lot of the answers. You don't have all of the answers, and you may never get all of the answers. And that's okay, because you found Heavenly Father to feel that. And now you're thankful for the dad that God sent you, instead of so focused on what you don't have. But God ordained the family. A dad, a mom, and the children. And, the breakdown is so devastating to children. And when they don't receive the truth to the capacity that they can receive the truth, it is detrimental to them. And then they grow up trying to find that void in all the wrong places and people. And then, like what we do for Wells of Agape, people come as adults, and that child in them has not been healed. And so it's so vital that we do speak our truths so that others can be set free. But our family, our generations, like my grandmother went to her grave with secrets.
Yeah.
We did not find out things until after she was gone. And you said something a while ago about you shouldn't say you were ashamed, but it is shame.
It was shame.
Shame will keep us in the pit that we're in. And so it's not just about you and your circumstance. We've had generations
of secrets
in our
lies.
bloodline of secrets.
It's so true. It's so true.
And it's sad to me that some people never get healed. They go to their grave with the shame and the condemnation and the
kids
guilt.
blame themselves. So as a little kid, I surely thought that I didn't have a daddy because I did something wrong. And like you said, God, my Heavenly Father has filled and healed and all those things. But as a child, they blame themselves. We know that. So if there's questions that are unanswered, if there's things that are just kind of shoved under the rug, then they don't know why it was shoved under the rug, and they believe that it's their fault. Because I certainly did. So, I am thankful for the daddy that I have. I do remember in the third grade. How old are you in the third grade? Like 8 or 9 maybe? I wanted to go and spend the night. I wanted to go and spend the night with my best friend. And I remember asking my mom, and the other girl was going to ask her grandma. So I was so excited to go back to school. My mom had said yes. We were just waiting for the affirmative on the other end. And the girl says, my grandma says, you can't come over because you're black. I had never heard of this before. This was news to me. In fact, I remember arguing with her. No, I'm not. They would have told me. Surely I would know that. That told 9-year-old Tiffany that black wasn't something I wanted to be, that people wouldn't want me around, which is a lie from the devil. But Satan is so cunning and so sly that he will get in there when them babies are believing whatever, and he will start a lie. And for me, I carried that on for 20 years. I believed that lie, and it affected every part of my being. It affected everything, because I felt like people wouldn't want me around. And that started a downward spiral. I spent years on years trying to prove my whiteness. I would straighten my hair. I would date guys from the Aryan Brotherhood. I would tan. Oh, it was so crazy, which is the opposite of what I wanted, but all the white girls were tanning. So I thought that's what I need to do, which didn't help my cause. If you think about it, it was going the wrong way. But that was I was just denying a whole beautiful part of who I am. And this is not good. It led to drugs, alcohol, escapism, abusive boyfriends. I think I would go through 6 or 7 jobs in 1 year. It was just a string of bad decisions and just floating through life with no real direction. It almost killed me, honestly. Not knowing who I was. I honestly believe to this day that had I not gotten the healing and the truth when I did, I would have went back to it, because nothing was healed. I quit the drugs for a while, and anybody can do that. You can stop the substances, but if you don't heal what was broken, you're going to go to something else. And I honestly believe to this day that had that not happened, and I know it was God, but that was a breakthrough in my life where things are different. And now I don't long for that life. I don't ever have days where I think, oh, it was better before, because it wasn't. But I know that some people do struggle with that. Some people that are in recovery, they struggle with those thoughts every day. And I believe it's because they haven't fixed what was broken. Just drugs is just a symptom of a heart issue. Addiction is just a symptom of a heart issue. There's something broken inside, and until you fix that, until you allow God to heal that, there's always going to be something else that gets you. So I grew up with great male role models in my life. I know I talked about them before, but my grandpa and my uncle, that's probably why I wanted a dad so bad. Like I said a minute ago, I saw how present they were. And I know that God sent me an amazing dad. The man that I call dad has been there for me more times than I can count. He's put up with so much crap. He's earned that title. I'm grateful that I have him in my life, and I'm hesitant to ever call him step, because to me, he's my dad. I'm grateful that God sent me that. But again, that didn't answer any of the questions that I had. It didn't heal the brokenness in me. Probably added some gray hair to his head, to be honest. I spent so many years aimlessly wandering with no purpose. 15 is the year I put on it, but it was longer than that, to be honest. I never had a purpose. I never had a direction. Drugs took over my life, along with toxic relationships, bad decisions, all the stuff that comes along with that. I was chasing substances and highs. I didn't find any worth in myself, and I didn't require anybody else to either. At 33 years old, I found myself in yet another abusive relationship that drained my soul. I see pictures of myself in that season in my life, and my eyes are dark. There's just a darkness that you can see. And I said this to many people, that I felt like my soul was dying. Every moment was about getting high. Everything we did, whether we were getting high or whether we were trying to get the money to get high or scheming to come up with that. It was all day, every day. That's what the focus was. I had lost all respect for myself. I had lost all respect for my body. And I was literally just existing. There was no life. It was just passing me by. I kept hearing this voice in my head, which I know now was God, but at the time I didn't know that. And it would tell me you were created for more than this. And I heard that voice for probably 3 months before I actually got to the end of myself. And literally cried out to God on the floor of a crack house. People they take their breath away when I say that, but that's the truth of what happened. I was strung out, detested, in a bad spot, had gotten an argument with my boyfriend at the time, and he put his hands on me and threw me down to the ground, and I didn't have no will to get up from there. In fact, in that moment, I probably would have been okay had I just died. I mean, I had no purpose. I had no life. But I called out to God on that floor because I didn't know what else to do. And my family, we went to church when I was little, so I knew of God, and that's all I knew to do. And my life didn't change in that moment, but my heart did. I felt him with me, and I asked him for a way out. And I said, if you'll show me a way out of this, I'll run and I'll never come back. And so that night, me and the boyfriend were in a fight, and he spun out of the driveway, and I knew that when he left in the rage like that, he would be gone for a while. And I heard God say, this is it. And so I already had a little bag packed, and I called my mom, who she had no reason to believe that this was going to be different. She had came and rescued me so many other times. She had no reason to believe that this time was going to be different. And honestly, neither did I. I just knew I needed out. And that step out of that lifestyle became a sprint towards Jesus. I got off the drugs that my parents allowed me to come and live with them in a little RV trailer. And I've never looked back. And my life has been transformed in so many ways. I mean, at first it was the drugs, and then it was my soul, healing the broken parts of me. He's transformed my hair. He's transformed my body now, learning to be healthy and all the things. And there's not one thing that he's not transformed in my life. And I'm forever grateful that he met me on that floor, and that he loved me enough to tell me that I was created for more than that. Forever grateful. My life's not been the same since. If today's episode gave you some hope, please share it with someone who needs it. We'd love for you to leave a comment. We'd love to hear your story. Also, join our Facebook community. The link is in the description.
No matter how bound your past feels,
there's a butterfly waiting to break free.